Morning, everybody. KC here. Uh, I hope you had a good Easter weekend. I hope that those of you who had a chance to rest up a little bit and decompress from the craziness that has been the last few weeks had a chance to do so. It has certainly been a crazy time. One of the things I've been thinking about as I was working on this morning's stories, and that I hope you're thinking about as you read the stories this morning, is the issue of whether or not we're all going to learn anything from the experience that we've all been having over the last few weeks. And there are some really interesting stories to me this morning. I mean, the story has popped up yet again about the fact that our cities actually now have cleaner air than ever before. Right? People aren't driving as much. There aren't as many planes taking off. People are not even using mass transit. Everybody is at home, and suddenly cities like Los Angeles have cleaner air than they have had it in decades. Are we going to learn from that? Okay, is there something we need to learn about urban design, about the way we live our lives, that will carry forward, or will at some point everything go back to the way it was? And and listen, I think there's a lot of people out there who think to themselves, and I'd be lying if I didn't say I'm not one of them. Every once in a while, so I can't wait till things go back to normal. Right? The fact is, things probably are never going to go back to quite to the way things were, because we're aware of a vulnerability now, societally, economically, that maybe we weren't aware of before. And if we don't learn from that, if we don't factor that vulnerability into our behavior going forward, well, it's the line, right? A crisis is a terrible thing to waste. Well, God, it would be great if we could actually learn from this one. And that goes right down in terms of how the supply chain works, in terms of what we learned about out of stocks, in terms of what we learned in terms of just-in-time delivery. Maybe things need to have a little bit more flexibility in them. It's going to affect how stores run in terms of how they appeal to their communities. The fact of the matter is, 2 months ago, I don't think most people use the word essential in relation to most food retail, and yet we've learned, painfully sometimes, exactly how essential it is. So I do think that we're going to have to redefine essential going forward. I think it's the kind of word that every business, but especially in retail, they're going to have to think about going forward. We were in the middle of this enormous retail change anyway, right? A lot of stuff going on. And now I think this, if nothing else, what we've learned over the last couple of months is certainly, and what we're going to learn in the next couple of months going forward, right? Because there's no end in sight for this thing. That has to redefine for us what essential means. And it's the kind of thing we should be thinking about as we develop our businesses. How can we be essential, okay, to our customers? How can we know them better so we serve them better? And how can we redesign business practices and processes going forward in such a way that our customers are going to be better taken care of than ever, that we're going to be able to prove our loyalty to them, and then they are going to view us as being essential. I mean, that is, I think, the case for every business. It is certainly the case for the retail business. It's the case for my business. I have to think every day about, how am I going to be essential to you? How am I going to get you to think about things differently? Okay. And I think it's the kind of introspection that every business is going to need to do, and that every business is going to have an answer to those questions. What are we going to learn from this, and how are we going to apply our learnings from this experience to our world going forward, whether it's how cities work, how commerce is conducted, or whether it's how stores are going to focus on their customers. It's all incredibly important. It's an ongoing process, but if we don't learn, it'll be wasted, and that would be a shame, because the businesses that don't learn are going to be at a disadvantage to the businesses that do learn, and there will be businesses that do learn. Anyway, that's what's on my mind this morning, and as always, I want to hear what's on your mind.